pessoal, o Marc David é dos Estados Unidos, é professor e consultor em psicologia nutricional e fundador do Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Autor dos livros Nourishing Wisdom and the Slow Down Diet, traduzidos em mais de 10 línguas, Marc David possui mais de 30 anos de experiência trabalhando com uma combinação única de psicologia da alimentação e nutrição holística. Ele palestra em diversas universidades e instituições internacionais, sempre com seu estilo bem-humorado, informativo e motivador. Seu trabalho já foi notícia nas principais mídias americanas, como as emissoras CNN, NBC e as publicações da New York Times, Chicago Times, Elle e Yoga Journal. Convido você a penetrar em seu universo e se maravilhar com a clareza com que ele trata a questão da alimentação em nossas vidas. Aproveite!
Greetings, friends. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Welcome. I very much appreciate your time and your energy and your attention. I am filming this right now from the United States of America in the beautiful state of Colorado. And I know this is being seen by so many of my friends and new friends in Brazil. So I am absolutely honored to be able to speak to you and to be able to speak to you from so far away across the globe. I have never been to Brazil, but I can tell you it's one of my favorite countries because I studied capoeira when I was young, so felt very close to the Brazilian culture. And I've been a rock collector, rocks and minerals, since I was a very young child. And the best and the most beautiful minerals, amethyst, quartz, rutilated quartz, it all comes from Brazil. So for some reason, your country has always been very close to my heart. And today we are going to speak about the eating psychology breakthrough, and we will be speaking about a special kind of nutrition called mind-body nutrition. And mind-body nutrition is a field that I invented or originated. The field of dynamic eating psychology is yet another field that I created. And I have been doing this work professionally for well over 30 years. And nutrition and eating psychology it's my love, it's my passion, it's my service, it's my gift. So I want to share with you some of my best insights so you can understand the beauty of not only working with nutrition in a whole different way, which you're going to hear about, but working with the mind and the heart and the soul of the eater. Because who we are, what we think, what we feel, what we believe, our level of stress or relaxation, everything that happens within us deeply impacts our metabolism, our physiology, our health, how we digest and how we assimilate. So when I was born and maybe less than 3-4 days old, I was rushed back to the hospital. I almost died of asthma. And as it turned out, I was deeply asthmatic for many years. Not only that, my immune system was very compromised. And I was allergic to everything. I couldn't eat. So I was extremely sickly. I was extremely unhealthy. And my parents would take me from doctor to doctor. Nothing worked. And around the age of 5, I heard a rumor that fruits and vegetables were good for you, because I was raised in a time when all the food we were eating, particularly here in America, it was very unnatural. It was synthetic. It was artificial. There was nothing real in it. So I heard a rumor that fruits and vegetables were good for you, and I asked my mother to buy them. Coincidence or not, my health started to change. So from a very young age, I made the connection that food had a very magical impact on my body. I was able to take my health into my own hands. I was able to take responsibility for my body. So this was a revelation. And starting from the age of 5, I became a nutrition fanatic. And over the years, I read every book that was in print on nutrition. I studied every course in university that was nutrition or nutritionally related. And I learned as much as I could. And very soon when I graduated college, this was back in the days, back in the 1970s, when there wasn't much nutrition, there wasn't much holistic nutrition. And I started seeing clients. And very quickly what I realized, I started seeing clients when I was 21 years old. I soon realized I had a clientele that was actually very wealthy and very motivated and very educated. And I would tell them what to do and what to eat. And they'd come back a week later and say, I know what you told me. I know what I was supposed to do. I just couldn't do it. And I realized then that it didn't matter how much nutrition information I knew, that unless I understood the mind and the heart and the soul of the eater, that I couldn't really help anyone with their digestive issues, their immune issues, their fatigue, their weight. I certainly couldn't help people who complained of overeating or binge eating because these didn't so much seem like nutritional issues. So I tried to find eating psychology. I wanted to study that. And there wasn't any. The only thing I could find was one clinic in the United States that I can do an internship and learn about anorexia. I found another clinic where I could learn about extreme obesity. But I thought to myself, what about everyone else? What about everyone that you might know who they overeat, they binge eat, they want to lose 2 kilos, 5 kilos, 10 kilos. They want to change an unwanted eating habit. Maybe they're an emotional eater. So I decided that I needed to learn eating psychology on my own. And I went to graduate school. I studied psychology and began to apply what I was learning in general psychology to working with all different kinds of people with all different kinds of challenges with food. And slowly I started to see results. Now, over the years, I have worked for many of the largest food companies in the world, the biggest vitamin and supplement companies in the world. I've worked for the Disney company and for Johnson & Johnson doing product development and marketing. I've worked in nutrition research. I've worked in laboratories. I've worked on the clinical side. I've logged thousands and thousands of hours of client practice. So I've been very, very passionate about nutrition, very passionate to learn as much as I could. So again, that's what this conversation, that's what this presentation is going to be, me sharing with you some of the key highlights of what a new eating psychology can look like, what the future of nutrition can look like. Now, if you think about one of the first stories you might have learned, we often learn as a child the story of Adam and Eve. And if you remember the story of Adam and Eve, it's a story that's based on the act of eating something forbidden, which is very interesting. So the big guy upstairs makes the first food rule: don't eat the apple. Now what's fascinating is they break the food rule. The woman breaks the food rule first. So Eve eats the apple, which I find interesting that the woman breaks the food rule first, because these days it seems like it's the women of the world who have the more problematic relationship with food. They almost seem to be paying a price. We'll speak more about that. So what happens after they break the food rule, after they eat the apple? They're hiding in the garden and they feel shame about the body. Remember, they cover themselves up with fig leaves because they're ashamed about the body. And then afterwards, God punishes them and says, you're out of the garden, no more. You're going to live in pain and suffering. Now, if you consider this, it sounds very similar to what a lot of people go through. Do you have your own food rules? What happens when you break those food rules? We feel shame, right? We might feel shame about the body if you say, oh, I shouldn't eat the cake, I shouldn't eat the ice cream, and then you eat the cake and you eat the ice cream. We feel shame about the body. And then when we feel ashamed of what we eat or upset at ourselves for what we eat, what do? We punish ourselves. How do people punish themselves? Maybe you say, oh, I'm not going to eat anything for 2 days, or I'm going to go on a diet, or I'm going to exercise. I'm going to exercise it off. So many people, by the way, use exercise as a punishment. They're not using exercise because, oh, I love to move my body. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy running. I enjoy dance. I enjoy yoga. I enjoy weightlifting. I enjoy football, soccer. No, they're exercising because they ate food. They're exercising because they have body fat and they want to get it off. So the exercise almost becomes a punishment. Sometimes when we eat a food that we think we should not have eaten, we might decide, okay, I'm just going to eat everything I want because I ruined myself and I shouldn't have done that. Or we punish ourselves with negative talk, negative self-thinking. We look in the mirror. We think unkind thoughts about ourselves. By the way, for so many of us, if your friends spoke to you the same way you talk to yourself in your own head about your performance, about how imperfect you are, about I'm not big enough, small enough, skinny enough, beautiful enough, handsome enough, tall enough, whatever it is, if your friends would talk to you that same way, they wouldn't be your friends. So we have to begin to notice how we use the mind. People are trying to control their eating these days, but so much of it originates in the mind, originates in how the mind tends to control us. Now, think for a second, do you have a list in your mind of good foods and bad foods? Many people are taught these are the foods on the good for me to eat list. These are the foods on the bad for me to eat list. And this is useful because there are certainly foods that are harmful to the body overall. There are certainly foods that are helpful for the body. But there are plenty of foods that, we're not so sure. Can I eat the ice cream? Can I have the piece of cake? Can I eat the candy? Can I drink the wine? Can I have the alcohol? So in the field of toxicology, there's a very famous saying that toxicologists say, and the saying is the dose makes the poison. The dose makes the poison. What that means is whether or not a food will be damaging to you depends on the amount that's in your body. Because as it turns out, according to science, according to toxicology, just about everything has a lethal dose. Right now you have mercury, the heavy metal mercury that you can get from fish or from vaccinations or from air pollution. You have mercury inside your body, but it's not enough to kill you. There's a lethal dose of mercury, which will send you to the grave. But you're still alive because you don't have a lethal dose. There's a lethal dose of caffeine, such that if we gave you a certain amount of caffeine, it would give you a heart attack and kill you. So the bottom line is there's a gray zone where foods, even though they might be harmful for us in large quantities, junk food that you eat every day, every meal, yes, that'll harm the body. That'll cause you weight gain. That'll cause you to perhaps have diabetes. It might send you into heart disease. It might send you into an immune disease. It might send you into cancer. But eaten in the right or small amounts, again, it's the dose that makes the poison. Now, this is important because we need to begin to recontext, to reimagine how we see food and how we see nutrition. Because oftentimes if you say to someone, don't eat that food, it's bad for you, what people hear is you're a bad person for eating that food. Do you see the distinction? We say, don't eat that food, it's bad for you, but then people feel guilty and they hear you're a bad person for eating that food. And there are so many people walking around, again, feeling guilt, feeling shame. They look in the mirror, they look at their body, they see body fat, and they want to get rid of it because the media, the television, the movies, the magazine, the internet, it's telling us you have to look a certain way in order to be loved. That's not so good. Now, what's happening is there's a lot of people who are searching for the perfect diet, the perfect way to eat, the perfect nutritional system. The reason why we search for the perfect diet, the perfect nutritional system, is we think that once I find the perfect diet, then I will be guaranteed perfect health, perfect weight, perfect energy. I will live forever. I will have everything. I will have all kinds of energy, and I'll never get sick. Searching for the perfect nutritional system, the perfect diet, is no different than searching for the perfect man, the perfect woman. It's no different than trying to find the perfect house or the perfect job. It does not exist. People are wasting their life energy trying to have the perfect body, the perfect this, the perfect that. And always around the corner from perfectionism, from trying to be perfect, is self-abuse. Let me say that again. Always around the corner from perfectionism is self-abuse. Meaning if you try to eat the perfect diet and eat in the perfect way, eventually you'll break your own food rule. And then when we break our own food rules, what do? We punish ourselves. Or if you don't exercise one day and you're trying to exercise perfectly every day, and then we get upset at ourselves, and we might end up binge eating, or we might end up just overeating or not liking ourselves. So not only is there no perfect diet, the good news is there's a spectrum of nutrition. There's a wide variety of diets that are perfect for many different people at many different times. What I mean is this: the perfect diet for you, for your body, depends on your age, your level of health, where you live, the climate, the seasons, your lifestyle, how much exercise you do, your genetics. Are you male? Are you female? It depends on your goals, what you want. It depends on the kind of job you have. It depends on whether you're healthy or diseased. So many factors intermix to create the perfect diet for you, but that perfect diet will change. When you were inside your mother's womb, the perfect diet was a cord coming into your belly with liquid nutrition. And then when you come out of your mother's womb, what's the perfect diet? It's mother's milk. And then soon after, the perfect diet is mushy food, maybe mushy banana or mushy avocado. And then our diet becomes more complex. Think of how many different styles of eating you've had over the years, how many nutritional systems you've followed. Humans change. The body changes. The only thing that remains unchanged is change itself. So what I'm suggesting is, in a certain way, the greatest nutritionist on the planet for your body is you. Yes, you could read books. Yes, you could listen to the experts. Yes, you can get online and do all kinds of research and try what this doctor says or that dietitian or this expert. But ultimately, you live in your body. You can feel what's happening in your own body. You can sense your energy. You can feel your digestion. If you want to be the best nutritionist for you, We have to have the attitude of a scientist. We have to have the attitude of an explorer. We have to be curious. We have to be willing to try, to eat this and see if it works, eat that and see if it works. And we experiment. You might say, oh, I read that a vegetarian diet is good for you. Great. Are you interested? Go on a vegetarian diet, see how you feel. Maybe you heard the paleo diet or the raw food diet or whatever diet it is. Experiment. Try it out. See how you feel. That's what life is anyway. We're always experimenting. We don't know what we're doing. Doctors, nutritionists, experts, we don't know what we're doing. I consider myself an expert, and I know what I'm doing, and I don't know what I'm doing. But I'm willing to be an explorer. I'm willing to be a scientist of my own body. Now, what happens is there's a lot of experts who are reading their own body, and then they try to translate it onto yours. As an example, I once read a book by a doctor who had cancer, and he went on a specialized diet called a macrobiotic diet, and he cured his cancer. He was supposed to die. It was so amazing. It was such a miracle that he wrote a book, and the book says that the macrobiotic diet that cured his cancer is the best diet in the universe. Well, it was the best diet for him. Who says it's going to work for your body or my body or someone else's body? And indeed, I will tell you, it's a very specialized diet. It only works for certain people at certain times. So we are here to reimagine and revision what nutrition can be. So from the time you're born till the time you die, there are all kinds of possibilities for you in terms of who you can be as an eater. I was a vegetarian for 11 years. I ate only raw foods, nothing cooked, for 2 years. I ate all fruit for 6 months at one point. I fasted for 20 days on water. I experimented with eating just mostly meat and vegetables for a year. And see what happens in the body. How do I feel? How does it work? And sometimes it works perfectly. It works great, but for a limited amount of time. So we all are learning this thing called body wisdom. Tuning into the body, sensing your body. It's a beautiful, wonderful, noble thing to do. Now, what I want to share with you, my friends, is that no matter what nutritional system you've heard about, read about, or that you follow, no matter what nutritional system, even if you're not interested in it, chances are it has a piece of wisdom, a nugget of wisdom, something that is applicable maybe to everyone. So people who say you should only eat raw foods, the nugget of wisdom there that can apply to everyone is, hey, if you don't have enough salads, fresh fruit in your diet, maybe you need to have more. Because there's some people that don't eat anything fresh. The nugget of wisdom in a vegetarian diet might be, hey, if you're eating way too much meat, maybe you should experiment cutting down on it or being meat-free for a while and see what happens. For the paleo diet, it might mean if you're a vegetarian, experiment with eating meat, high-quality meat, for a few weeks and see if that impacts your health or your weight or your energy. So it's all a beautiful experiment. Now, I do want to say this, and this is where we go into new territory, which is what we eat. The food we eat is only half of the story of good nutrition. The other half of the story is who you are as an eater. Meaning, what's going on inside me? My thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs, emotions, levels of stress, level of relaxation. How much pleasure do I get from my food? What is the story I tell myself? Everything that's going on inside my being, my heart, my mind, my soul, will literally impact metabolism. Back in the 1980s, scientists started to prove the mind-body connection. They started to prove that your thoughts influence your immune system. You could change your immune health by thinking negative thoughts. Your immune health goes down. Positive thinking, immune system goes up. Now, previously, science didn't believe this. Even though ancient traditions such as Ayurveda or Chinese medicine, they've been saying that for thousands of years. Other cultures know this. Traditional cultures know this, but Western science, we haven't known it. So all of a sudden, we are learning that who we are, what's going on inside of us, will literally impact digestion, assimilation, and calorie burning. Nowhere is this more evident and obvious in the stress and the relaxation responses. Here's what I mean. The stress response. This is an ancient evolutionary mechanism that humans evolved over eons of time, such that when the lion is chasing you, that's a life or death situation. So when the lion is chasing you, your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, blood moves away from your midsection, it rushes to your arms and legs for quick fighting or fleeing, blood rushes to your head for quick thinking, and your digestive system completely shuts down. Because when you're trying to run for your life or fight for your life with that lion, you don't need to be digesting your steak. All your metabolic energy wants to go into survival. Does that make sense? All the metabolic energy has to go into fighting or fleeing because you can die. Nature knows you have about 2 or 3 minutes before something happens. Either the lion will eat you, you will defeat it, or you'll run away. For those 2 to 3 minutes, you have an amazing metabolism. Afterwards, though, metabolism decreases if we have a prolonged stress response. Now, there's a part of the nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system. Nervous system is divided into 2 parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. When the sympathetic nervous system is most active in our body, the stress response is turned on and digestion is turned off. It's like a switch. It's like electricity. It's how we are wired. It's how your genetics are programmed. When we are in a full-blown stress response, sympathetic nervous system on, digestion and assimilation completely shut down. The opposite of that is when you're completely relaxed, when you're in the relaxation response, and this is a physiologic feature of the body. When we're relaxed, we're in parasympathetic nervous system dominance. When the parasympathetic nervous system is dominating and it's turned on, we have full, healthy digestion and assimilation. It's a switch. As soon as you turn on relaxation, you turn on digestion and assimilation to its best. Here's another way of saying this, my friends. You can be eating the healthiest food in the universe, the best food ever. But if you're not under the optimum state of digestion and assimilation and calorie burning, which is relaxation, you will not be getting the full nutritional value of your meal. Literally what's happening when you're under stress is you will excrete nutrition from the body. You will piss away through urine. You will excrete through the bowels. You will lose through perspiration microminerals, calcium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, and others. You'll lose that through the urine. We will lose fat-soluble vitamins through the bowels. We literally malabsorb it, and it leaves the body. That's amazing. That's an amazing fact, because you can change the nutritional value of any meal without even changing the meal, but by changing you, the eater. Now think of it. How many people do you know that eat under stress? How many people do you know that eat in a rush, eat really fast? The act of eating fast is considered by the body a stressor. It creates physiologic stress response. It creates sympathetic nervous system dominance, just eating fast. You could be extremely relaxed. You sit down to a meal, and you eat it really fast. The body goes into a stress response. You start to excrete nutrition. You slow down calorie burning capacity. When you're in a stress response, we produce more insulin and more cortisol. These two hormones, these are necessary for life. These are not bad hormones, but we produce them in excess. We produce too much. So day in, day out, every day, if we have elevated stress, anxiety, fear, worry, if our stress is elevated, that means our insulin and cortisol are high. And when insulin and cortisol are high every day, that signals the body to store weight, store fat, and not build muscle, which is the opposite of what most people want to do. So too much cortisol, too much insulin signals the body to store weight, store fat, not build muscle. Now, we're talking about stress. Think of what happens when you eat under stress. What happens? Maybe you have a stomach ache. Maybe you have heartburn, gastroesophageal reflux, same thing. Maybe your stomach gets bloated. Maybe you get gas. That's your digestion shutting down. If you ever feel if you ate too quickly or you ate under stress that food is sitting in your stomach, that's exactly what it's doing. It's literally sitting in your stomach because the stomach has shut down. It stopped churning. Normally the stomach is a muscular organ. It churns the food. It crushes the food, literally. The stomach stops churning. It just sits there. And the food sits there. And it feels like the food it's not doing anything. It's not going anywhere. You feel heavy. And then you start to get bloated. So a few more details about what happens when you eat under stress. You will produce less thyroid hormone, less growth hormone. Those are two hormones that increase the metabolic rate of almost every cell in your body. So your metabolic rate goes down when you eat under stress. Stress kills healthy gut bacteria. The gut bacteria we are discovering in the field of nutrition and digestive science is unbelievably important for your health. When the gut bacteria and the healthy gut bacteria start to die, that can affect not only your digestion, it can affect your weight, it can affect your bone density, it can affect your heart health, it can affect your mood, it can affect your brain function, your cognition, it can affect your muscle tissue. It's pretty amazing what the gut bacteria do. So the gut bacteria literally start to die when we're under stress. Not only that, mitochondria. Mitochondria are tiny little organelles inside the cells. They're like the little engines in your cell. They produce energy. When we are under stress, those mitochondria, their function decreases, and we can even decrease the number of them. We can sort of kill them off. So, by the way, science defines stress as any real or imagined threat and the body's response to that threat. So science defines stress as any real or imagined threat and the body's response to that threat. What that means is you could think of somebody that hurt you 20 years ago, and you could go into the same stress response as when they really did hurt you. You can imagine a lion chasing you, and that'll send you into the same stress response as if the lion is chasing you. Heart rate up, blood pressure up. Blood moves away from your digestive organs, and digestive system shuts down. Now, stress can mean anxiety, fear, worry. Stress can mean my parents are getting old and sick. Stress can mean my children are having difficulty in school. Stress can mean I'm having problems in my relationship. I don't have enough money. Stress is also the negative thoughts that we think. I'm too fat. I'm too ugly. I'm too short. I'm too tall. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not handsome enough. I'm not, whatever it is, those thoughts can create stress in the body. When we create stressful thoughts, we create more insulin, more cortisol. Those hormones signal the body to store weight, store fat, not build muscle. When we create stress, we create digestive shutdown. We create nutrient excretion from the body. So what I'm trying to tell you, my friends and my Brazilian friends, is that we have to start to look at mind and heart and emotions, because that is impacting how you metabolize a meal. It is impacting your nutrition. So yes, I want you to eat good, healthy food. But the ice cream will metabolize way less efficiently in your body if you're eating the ice cream and thinking, oh my God, I shouldn't eat this ice cream. It's fattening. It's no good for me. It's got sugar in it. It's bad. I'm going to gain weight. You're creating stress when you think that. If you create relaxation, I love ice cream. This tastes so good. This is wonderful. I love this. You're in a relaxation response. You're in the optimum state of digestion, assimilation, and calorie burning. This is very important. Most people think that they burn calories only when they exercise. At most, maybe people exercise an hour or maybe 2 hours every day, but the bulk of your calories are burned in the 22, 23 hours, 23 and a half hours that you don't exercise. And if you're not relaxed somewhat in that time, calorie burning capacity is actually decreased for most people. That's an amazing, amazing scientific fact. I'll tell you a story. Many years ago, a client of mine, he flew from Canada, all the way from Canada to New York, where I was living, to come see me, to be my patient. And he was a doctor. He was a medical doctor. He was practicing in Toronto. He was originally from China, so he's a Chinese medical doctor. He's been living in Toronto, Canada, for 20 years. And for 20 years, he's been having digestive upset after every meal. As soon as he eats, he has stomach aches, he has heartburn, and he has gas, and he has bloating, and it's terrible. Now, this is a man who has all kinds of knowledge, all kinds of information. He has access to the medical system, and nothing helps him. So he heard I was a very successful nutritionist. He flies to see me. So we sit down, and one of the first things I do is I do a dietary intake. What do you eat? So here's what this man eats. For breakfast, he drives to work. He stops by McDonald's. Maybe you have McDonald's in Brazil. He eats 2 Egg McMuffins, and he eats them in the car on the way to work. And he eats it in a minute. What does he do for lunch? He gets back in his car, drives back to McDonald's, gets 2 hamburgers, 2 Big Macs, and he eats them in a car on the way back to work, and he eats them in 2 minutes. For dinner, he does the same thing. He buys more Big Macs, and he eats them in the car on the way back to his house. And I said to him, I think I might have found your problem. And he says to me, I love my lifestyle. I love my schedule. I love what I eat. I'm not changing anything I eat. You have to help me, but I can't change I can't change my diet. And all he eats are hamburgers and Big Macs and Egg McMuffins. So here's what I asked him to do. I asked him to take 20 minutes to eat breakfast, to slow down, relax, sit in the car, don't drive the car. For lunch, I want him to take 30 minutes. Eat, relax, enjoy, get pleasure. For dinner, the same thing. You can't eat in the car. If you eat in the car, you can't drive the car. Turn on some nice music. So he goes home. He agreed to do my recommendations. 2 weeks later, he calls me up. He says, you're not going to believe this. He says, after 20 years, my digestive issues are completely gone. And then he said, you're not going to believe this. I hate Big Macs and I hate hamburgers. And I said, what do you mean? He said, have you ever tried to savor a hamburger and eat it slow? Savor a Big Mac and eat it slow? He said, you can't do that. He said, it tastes terrible. So he changed his diet on his own, not because I told him he had a bad diet, but because his body wisdom started to speak. His digestive issues went away in less than 2 weeks because for the first time in 20 years, he is not eating in a stress response. He's eating in a relaxation response. He's eating in parasympathetic nervous system dominance. He is eating in the natural state that we are intended to eat with, the way the universe, the way nature invented the body, the way God invented the body. He's eating the way we are designed to eat, which is relaxed. And his body healed quickly. So much of the digestive challenges that people have, even the fatigue and the poor digestion, it happens because we need to take more time. Now, I don't know so much about Brazil, but in America, we take 5 minutes for lunch. We eat at our desk. We eat while we watch TV. We eat on the computer. Americans are very fast eaters. And I notice as I travel around the world, we are exporting our bad habits everywhere. We export our bad food, and we export our not so good ways of eating. So the first time I went to Italy, I sit down to lunch, and it's 2 hours. 2 hours for lunch. I couldn't believe it. I used to eat lunch in 5 minutes, and it was the most amazing experience. And the food there tastes so good compared to here in the United States. And everybody has a good time, and they're relaxed, and the meals digest so much better. Time is like a digestive aid. Pleasure is like a digestive aid. Let's talk about pleasure. Most people think pleasure is something that's frivolous. You don't really need it. It's not physiologic. It's not part of the body almost. But pleasure is wired into our system. Every organism on planet Earth, whether you're an amoeba, an insect, a lizard, a dog, a human, every organism on the planet is programmed at the most primitive level to seek pleasure and avoid pain. When you're eating, you seek the pleasure of food, you avoid the pain of hunger. What happens is that pleasure, literally, when you feel pleasured by a meal, food that tastes good to you, the pleasure literally helps you digest it. There's many ways that works. The key way to understand how pleasure helps us metabolize, how pleasure fuels the body, is that pleasure creates a relaxation response. Meaning this, let's say you come home from your job and you don't like your job and you had a stressful day and your partner says, oh, let me give you a shoulder rub. And they start to massage you, and all of a sudden it feels so good, you go, ah, you relax. Pleasure makes us relax. You hear your favorite song, you relax. You look at you go to your favorite beach, you relax. You go take your favorite walk, you relax. You make love, you relax. Pleasure generates a relaxation response, and remember what the relaxation response does. It fuels digestion, it fuels assimilation, and it fuels calorie burning capacity. What a beautiful thing. Now, because when you eat, you're seeking the pleasure of food and you're avoiding the pain of hunger, if you're not aware of the food, if you're not paying attention, so if you're multitasking, you eat, but you're looking at the computer, you're watching TV, you're on the phone, you're talking, and you don't pay attention to the food, the brain, it doesn't register pleasure. Because in order to feel pleasure, you have to be present. So if you eat the food really fast, or you ate it under stress, the brain isn't smart enough to say, wait a second, you ate your food too fast, you should have slowed down and received pleasure. The brain says, I don't remember tasting the food. I don't remember getting pleasure. I don't remember feeling good. And then the brain says, hungry. Not only that, the brain is scanning the meal for nutrition, for nutrients, for vitamins, minerals, protein, fat, carbohydrate, water. The body needs specific amounts of nutrients. The brain determines that. The digestive system determines that, but it needs time. So if you eat the meal too fast, and if you don't pay attention, if you don't use taste, because taste is connected right to the brain. Taste sends information to the brain. When we don't taste, when we don't pay attention to the meal, appetite is increased. Even if you eat a lot of food, even if the food is sitting in your stomach and you feel full, the belly says, the nervous system that's in the belly says full, but the nervous system in the head, the brain says hungry. And then we eat. And then we think we have a willpower problem. We think we have a problem controlling our mind, but it's not a willpower problem. The problem is we weren't present. We weren't aware. We didn't slow down. We didn't taste. We didn't receive pleasure. That's the way human beings are designed to eat. If you ate like the Italians, if you ate relaxed and slow and pleasure and celebrate, you would have your fullest, healthiest digestion, your fullest, healthiest calorie burning metabolism. You would assimilate your nutrients, and you would have the best probability to enjoy good health. Now, there's something scientists call the cephalic phase digestive response. Cephalic means of the head. Cephalic phase digestive response is a fancy term for taste, pleasure, aroma, satisfaction, and the visuals of a meal. Scientists have estimated that 40 to 60% of the metabolic digestive power that you have at any meal, 40 to 60% of our digestive power at any meal comes from cephalic phase digestive response, taste, pleasure, aroma, satisfaction, and looking at the food. So if you do the math, if we don't have taste and pleasure and smell and satisfaction, we're only metabolizing that meal at 40 to 60% efficiency. That's crazy. Once again, you could increase the nutritional value of a meal without changing anything you eat, but by changing who you are as an eater. This is amazing. Now, I'll give you another example of how the power of your mind profoundly influences digestion and metabolism. Each of us has many people inside of us, meaning we think we're one person. I am me. I am this one person. I am Marc David. You are one person. But the reality is we are many people, meaning you might be a mother, you might be a wife, you're someone's daughter, you might be a sister, you might be a nurse, you might be a scientist, you might be an athlete, you might be an angel, you might be a bitch, you might be a little kid, you might be rebellious. So we have all these different personalities inside of us. Now, the reason I mention this is because many psychologists believe that this is a very helpful way to understand psychology. There's a medical condition, a psychiatric condition called multiple personality disorder. Multiple personality disorder also means split personalities. It means people who have many different personalities, and those personalities are so different and they're not aware of each other. So multiple personality disorder patients can go from personality to personality, one after the other, and they have no idea that they're doing that. Here's what's fascinating about that. When we study multiple personality patients, we find that every different personality has a different metabolism. So when scientists study multiple personalities, they can see in each personality there is a different levels of hormones, different levels of insulin, different levels of cortisol, different heart rate, different blood pressure, different galvanic skin response. The metabolism is different. In one documented case, researchers identified a multiple personality disorder patient who was an insulin-dependent diabetic in one personality. When he switched to another personality, he was no longer diabetic. Another multiple personality disorder patient had an allergy to citrus fruit. such that whenever he would eat the citrus fruit, the orange, the lemon, the lime, the grapefruit, his body would have hives, big red marks, and he would get these big red hives immediately. As soon as he would switch to another personality, the hives would disappear. So he had the food allergy in one personality. The reason why I mention this is I often hear people say, oh, when I go visit my parents, I always want to eat the same foods I ate when I was a kid, and they taste so good. But then when I go back home and I try to eat those same foods when I'm back in my own house, it doesn't digest so well. What I'm suggesting is that each of us has different nutritional personalities inside of us. If you are eating and you're thinking, oh, I'm too fat, I'm no good, I'm miserable, I'm depressed, you're creating a metabolism that will not fully digest and assimilate and calorie burn that food. If you're sitting with your meal and you feel good about yourself, you love yourself, you admire yourself, you have respect for yourself, you're creating a whole different metabolism. You're in a relaxation response. You're inspired. When we are inspired, when we feel good about who we are, you literally change your chemistry. You change your digestion. So it's helpful to ask, who is eating when you sit down to a meal? What part of you is eating that meal? What I want to suggest to you is notice when you sit down to the meal, is it maybe the rebel inside you? Oh, I'm going to eat whatever I want. Like the teenager in us. I could eat whatever I want. I'm going to just do whatever I want to do, because teenagers, they think they're going to live forever. And they like to be rebellious. When you sit down to a meal, is it the part of you that's stressed and anxious and hating your body? Because if it is, then you're creating the opposite metabolism of what you want. So we have to invoke, I like to say, if you're a woman, invoke the queen in you. If you're a man, invoke the king in you. Eat as if you're royalty. Eat as if you're sitting on a throne. Have respect for yourself. Have dignity. Have authority. And from that place, you will feel good about who you are, and you will get the full nutritional value from that meal. Now, my friends, let's talk about eating psychology. I developed the field of dynamic eating psychology because I started to notice that there is no eating psychology for everyone. Most people hear the term eating psychology, they think anorexia, bulimia, extreme obesity. They think eating disorders, clinical cases where maybe you have to be hospitalized or be under intensive care of a doctor, a physician. But again, there has never been a psychology of eating for everyone. For the person who just wants to lose 5, 10, 15, 20 kilos. For the person who just wants to stop binge eating, stop overeating. So I developed this field that is positive. It's uplifting. Dynamic eating psychology says that each of us has a beautiful relationship with food. That relationship with food is the longest term relationship you'll ever have. From the time you're born till the time you die, you have a relationship with food. You're eating. It'll last longer than any marriage. That relationship with food is like a teacher. It teaches us. No matter what problem you face with food, emotional eating, overeating, binge eating, I can't control my appetite, I can't control my weight, I look in the mirror, I don't like my body, no matter what it is, dynamic eating psychology says this is a teaching for you. It's an opportunity for you to grow. So our eating challenges are not problems. They're not problems that you have to hit with a stick and make them go away. So even if you had extra weight and you're trying to lose weight, most people look at the extra weight as the enemy and they try to fight it and they hate it and they exercise it off and they try to go on these very low-calorie diets that are tasteless, and they're starving themselves, and they're exercising so hard to get rid of the body fat, and the whole time they're thinking, I hate my body, I hate my body. Now, the reason why they're trying to lose weight is so they can love their body. So the end result we want is that I will love my body. But how can a road that's filled with self-hate possibly lead to a destination of love? The journey informs the destination. If we take a road that every step on the road is self-hate, self-rejection, negative self-talk, self-attack, self-punishment, that's the destination we will arrive at. I meet so many people who finally lose the weight and they're not happy. They're waiting to feel good about themselves, and they don't feel so good because, or they might feel good, but it's very short-lived. Here's the statistics. 98 to 99% of all people who lose weight on a weight loss diet gain it back within less than a year. 98 to 99% of all people who lose weight on a weight loss diet gain it back within less than a year. The methods that we use to lose weight don't work. And it's not because people are lazy. It's not because they have no willpower. It's because the old model of eat less, exercise more doesn't work. For some people, a few percentage of people, it works. For most people, it does not work. So, dynamic eating psychology says that no matter what challenge you're facing with food, no matter whether, again, it's weight, it's overeating, emotional eating, binge eating, it's here to teach you. And when you learn the lesson it's teaching you, then that problem can finally go away. In the ancient tradition of the Greeks, also in the ancient tradition, the mystical tradition in Christianity, in Judaism, there's a story that's told in all those traditions that whenever we have a disease or a symptom or an unwanted behavior or a psychological issue, it's really your angel talking to you. It's your guardian angel talking to you. Your guardian angel is whispering something in your ear, trying to teach you a lesson. If we listen to the lesson, the disease, the symptom, the problem can finally go away. But if we don't listen to the lesson, the angel blasts its horn louder. It makes the symptom louder. It makes the symptom more powerful. Until we listen. I'll give you an example of what I mean. Many years ago, a woman comes to see me and she's gained 20 pounds and she's binge eating. She's always had her perfect weight and she always had the right appetite and she can control her appetite, and all of a sudden her appetite's out of control. She's gained weight. She can't stop herself. She's binge eating. She's overeating. Nothing she could do can take off the weight and make her stop eating. So she's coming to see me to understand why. She's not liking herself. She's hating herself. She can't understand why she has no self-control. Remember, every unwanted symptom or disease or habit or eating issue, it's a teaching. It's a message from the guardian angel. So I'm trying to figure out what's the message, what's the teaching in it. So as I ask this person questions about her life, here's what I discover. She started binge eating about a year ago. When I asked her what changed a year ago, did anything happen a year ago? First she said nothing changed, but then she said that she started feeling like she didn't want to be married anymore. She wasn't in love with her husband anymore. And this was shocking for her because her husband's a wonderful man. They have 2 beautiful children. They love their marriage. But she doesn't feel love anymore. And this scared her. And she didn't know what to do. So I said to her, can you see any connection between your binge eating and no more love for your husband. And she thought about it. And she realized it was true. Because the binge eating happened when she realized, I don't know if this marriage can work for me anymore. But she couldn't deal with that. She didn't know how to talk to her husband. She didn't even know how to talk to herself. She didn't even tell any of her friends. So instead, she binge eats. Now, that wasn't a conscious choice. It wasn't an aware choice, but it's how the mind works. The mind will find an outlet until we begin to pay attention to the real issue. So the binge eating got her attention. The binge eating made her listen, made her look at her life to figure out, why am I binge eating? Why am I binge eating? She was lucky enough to finally figure out why. And I suggested, you need to talk to your husband, you need to talk to your friends, you need to get counseling, you need help. Because this is not an eating issue, it's a marriage issue, it's a relationship issue. And it's interesting, as soon as she opened up to her husband and was honest with him about what was happening, even though it was hard for him, they started talking about what wasn't working for her and for him. They started being honest with each other. After 2 weeks, the binge eating went from twice a day to once a week. That's amazing. And all she did was be honest with her husband. So this is just one example of how food is teaching us, how our relationship with food is here to help us grow. I once had a client who, very wealthy woman, 50 years old, she gains 25 pounds. And she's not that tall, so she really got big. And she did everything in the universe to lose the weight. She has the best doctors in the world, the best nutritionists, the best fitness experts, the best everything, the best medical testing. And after 2 years, she can't lose a single pound. She's very upset. She is very unhappy. And this is a woman who's extremely, I said, wealthy, but very powerful woman. Has a very high standing in the world, and she's used to having whatever she wants. Very strong woman. So she comes to see me. Perhaps I can help her. And during the first session, I asked a lot of questions. And I said to her, I think I understand why your weight is here. I think I understand what the weight is here to teach you. And she said to me, what do you mean what the weight is here to teach me? I said, well, you've been trying to get rid of this for 2 years. You're one of the most powerful women in the world. You're wealthy. You have all these doctors, all these experts. Nobody can help you. I said to her, there's a spiritual lesson in here. There's a life lesson in here. What do you think it is? She said, I don't know. I just want to get rid of this weight. I don't know if there's a lesson. And I said to her, I think it's this. I think the lesson is humility. This is the first time in your life you don't have what you want. This is the first time in your life you have to be humble. This is the first time in your life you can't be perfect. This is the first time in your life that you can't be the winner. You can't defeat this thing. I said it's a very humbling experience to have extra weight and not be able to make it go away. What if you look like this for the rest of your life? Can you find self-love again? Can you find your power again? Can you be a strong woman again? Or are you going to hate yourself forever? This was a very interesting conversation I had with her. She didn't like it. She was very mad. She walked out very mad. But a few weeks later, a few months later, she called me up and she thanked me because she realized that as she was getting older, she needed to develop her spiritual side. And this was life giving her a higher lesson. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who has extra weight needs to learn humility. It's different lessons for everyone. Some people who have extra weight, they need to learn how to eat better. They need to learn to exercise. That's their lesson. Some people need to learn patience. Some people need to learn how to find better medical care. Some people, there's so many reasons why humans can carry extra weight. I want to share something else about eating psychology. There's something I call toxic nutritional beliefs. A toxic nutritional belief is a thought. It's a belief that is as bad for the body as the worst foods you could eat. Here's an example of a toxic nutritional belief. There's a lot of people who are walking around who want to lose weight and they want to have the perfect body. They want to look good in a bikini. And they have the toxic nutritional belief, food is the enemy. A lot of people, especially women, food is the enemy. Because so many women, they're told by the media, by the images, by the internet, by the magazines, if you want love, you need to be skinny. If you're not skinny, you won't have love, you won't be married, you won't have the man, you won't have anything good, so you have to be skinny. And if you're not skinny, you go, oh my goodness, I better not eat food. I better eat low calorie. I better restrict my food intake so I can lose weight. And what makes me have weight? What makes me have body fat? It's food. So if I eat food and I gain weight and I won't have love, then food is the enemy. So every time that person eats, she's thinking food is the enemy, I shouldn't eat this. Now, food is the enemy is a stressful thought. Remember the stress response. Increase insulin, increase cortisol. That signals the body to store weight, store fat, not build muscle. So that thought is creating the opposite of what that person wants. So life is trying to teach us to relax. Life is trying to teach us to examine the kinds of thoughts that we think. Because the thoughts we think, what we believe about the world, will impact the body. So many people are trying to eat the right diet so they can have perfect health and never get sick. But to me, we need a higher purpose. You need a higher purpose for having a good diet or having a strong, healthy, lean body. And that higher purpose is, who are you? And what have you come to planet Earth to do? What's your purpose here? What's your mission? Why are you here? When you're on your deathbed, what do you want to have accomplished so you can say, I had a life worth living? Most people, when they're on their deathbed, they're not thinking about how many calories they ate in their life. They're not thinking about how much they weighed. They're not thinking about they shouldn't have had so much food at that meal. They're looking back on their life thinking, did I love? Did I serve others? Did I give my gifts? Did I fulfill my potential? Did I do good in the world? Don't wait till you die to think those thoughts, to ask those questions. So if you want to have a healthy body, yeah, it's nice to look good in the bikini and the bathing suit. That's great. I love good-looking bodies in nice bikinis, but you have to still have a higher purpose, okay? You have to have a reason for having lots of energy and a healthy body. And the reason is so you can give the gifts that you came here to give. That, to me, is your higher nutritional purpose. Now, my friends, there's so much more to talk about, but I'll stop there. And I want to encourage you, here's some things perhaps you can take away from this conversation. If you want to increase the nutritional value of any meal, eat it in a relaxed way. Take your time. Take lots of time. Feel nourished. Feel pleasure. That will help you get the maximum nutrition from your meals. If you are stressed when you're about to eat, take 5 to 10 long, slow, deep breaths. And that 5 to 10 of those long, slow, deep breaths in less than a minute, it'll put your body into a relaxation response, which means full, healthy, digestive, assimilative, and calorie-burning power. Next, I want you to look at any eating challenge you have as a teacher. It's asking you to grow. It's asking you to look at yourself and see what it's pointing to, because it's always pointing somewhere else. Now, for those of you who speak English and wish to learn more, if you go to my website, psychologyofeating.com, we have plenty of free information. We have programs for professionals. We have a free video gift that you can get on the homepage. We have tons of free videos, free content, and feel free to come by. You can also email us at info@psychologyofeating.com. We're also on Facebook, and you can, go visit us on Facebook. We constantly post. We constantly put up new information. Again, for those of you who speak English, because we only do it in English, I think. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your interest and your enthusiasm. I truly hope this was helpful for you, and hopefully one day I will come to your country and get to say hello and meet you in person. So thank you again. God bless, and I hope to meet you soon. Take care.